Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jason Haas with our weekly Instagram live broadcast from Tablas Creek. Thank you for joining. I am super excited that we will have Joel Peterson, the executive director of the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, joining me today to talk about what reopening looks like for Paso Robles wineries now that we've gotten the okay from the state to start that on Friday, day after tomorrow. Talk a little bit about what we're planning to do here at Tablas Creek. But as I normally do, I'm going to give everyone a little tour of what's going on at the vineyard while we're waiting for people to join. So the biggest thing that we have, starting the tour on our patio, because our big news is that we're going to be reopening the tasting room a week from today. It was the subject of my blog this week. I think we have, obviously the tastings will look different than they did pre-coronavirus. All of our tastings will be outside on this beautiful patio that we always want to do more with. They'll all be seated by reservation. We'll be doing wines in flight, so we don't have to be in everybody's space quite as often, and we'll be wearing masks. We'll ask our guests to wear masks. Anyway, all of these details are on our website and on the blog. But this is where I think the story really starts for this week for sure. Is that's the key thing we're working on. In the vineyard, I start with a picture of the wetlands area that we use to treat the winery wastewater. We've actually been doing a lot of cleaning because we're bottling. So that means we have to clean tanks, we have to clean barrels, get things blended. And the level of health of these water plants whose roots filter the winery wastewater is dramatic. We built a new and larger wetlands area last year. I'm really excited about it. A few other pictures. In the vineyard itself, you can see that things are starting to turn kind of summer gold. The vines themselves are healthy and bushy. We're still working on controlling vigor. We're shoot thinning. We are through flowering. You can see we're at fruit set. This is a picture of Vermentino. It's one of the more advanced grapes that we have. So not everything is that big. Those are kind of the size of small peas. But it's progress. It's coming pretty quick. A few other photos. I got a picture that I really love of one of our old Grenache vines, just looking kind of regal in the morning sun today. You can see that's a almost 30-year-old grapevine. Be 30 years old next year. Just a beast. Still healthy and productive. The other things that are going on, where as people who follow us regularly know, we've got a lot of other things interplanted in the vineyard. You can see some of the fruit trees are starting to produce. This is a shot of one of the cherry trees we have in the vineyard. You can see this is an apple tree with some of our head-trained Mourvedre vines behind it. In the cellar, we're bottling. I mentioned that. This is a shot from this morning. We just finished bottling Marsanne. We were bottling before that, and this is, can I do a drum roll? Our first ever Bourboulenc, which I think is so exciting that we have this. So these are going to be released over the course of the summer. We have 12 wines that we're bottling this week. A lot of these super small production, like the Bourboulenc that was about 150 cases. So stay tuned. Check your emails. Okay, that's it. I am going to take the pictures off, and now I'm going to invite Joel to join me. You'll see him come up as Paso Wine because he's that. Hey, Joel.
How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Good to see you. Hanging in there. You know, it's been an interesting week. It's been an interesting few months, but Friday's a big day for Paso Robles, so we couldn't be more excited, actually.
Awesome. Cool. So for people who don't know you, introduce yourself a little bit. How did you get into wine? I mean, I know you're a local kid, sort of. in that you've had connections to Paso for your whole life. I mean, people, Paso locals will know Virginia Peterson Elementary. Talk about your background a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. So I was born up in Modesto, actually, California, and raised throughout the states. My dad was in construction, so I was raised all over the country. I ended up going to college at University of Arizona down in Tucson and got a degree in film and television, and really wanted to make movies. So I ended up moving to LA and Hollywood, and I was there for about almost 8 years doing a film production, film and television production, and I loved that. But I had a bug to get back to Paso Robles. My dad was born and raised here. I spent a lot of summers in Paso. And as my wife and I were living in Los Angeles, or we were girlfriend, boyfriend back then, but we spent so much time in Paso, and it was just kind of becoming a special place. And the wine just captured me. I had a bug for wine. I was a member of a few wine clubs, and I just had this bug. And I met who was then the winemaker of Justin Vineyards, and I talked him into letting me to work a harvest. And it ended up being the harvest of 2001, and I just fell in love with it. I drug hoses. I was a cellar rat. It was back when Justin was just a small family-run little operation out there on the west side of Paso Robles, and I just thought, I want to live my life here. And my dad was born and raised in Paso Robles. My wife and I wanted to buy a house and raise kids in Paso, so it just kind of made sense. So we moved here full time in '03. I ended up working harvest of '01 for Stefan Aseo over at L'Aventure, and had just a wonderful time, and was able to do a short stint at Gary Everly and down in the caves, dragging hoses as well. So worked my way up, really. I had a degree, degree in film and television, so it was kind of more of a marketing communications angle. But as much as I liked being in that cellar and being around that, I knew that my skill set was probably more around people, logistics, communication, and marketing than it was making wine. I'm really good at drinking it. And then had a really great run at Austin Hope and Hope Family Wines. I was there just over 8 years as their marketing manager and then communications director. Then took a short stint with a wonderful company in Paso called Solterra Strategies, which did PR and marketing for wineries like Halter Ranch and Adelaida and things like that. And we worked with the Rhone Rangers pretty extensively. Then I got the really cool experience to go work for Firestone and Walker Brewing Company for 2 years as their marketing manager. And that's right here in Paso Robles. It's one of the top craft breweries in America, and I really loved that. But wine drew me back. It was one of those things. This vacancy became open. Had some phone calls, read the job description, and I'd been in awe of what this association and what this region has done. And it really was just time for me to go back to wine. And that was about 1.5 years ago. So it's been, a really fun 1.5 years in Paso. The last 6 months has been not like anything we expected, obviously. But, I met you back when I first moved to town. I think you moved in around the same time, and we've been friends, since then.
So, talk about a little bit for people who don't know what the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance does. How would you distill what it does down to like an elevator pitch?
Yeah, great question. So we are the official trade and marketing organization of the Paso Robles wine region, and so we have wineries, growers, associate members, and hospitality members. There's 4 kind of groups, and our job is to promote and protect the Paso Robles AVA. Our job is really to get the word out about how amazing these wines are and the special experiences you have here at Paso Robles, the diversity, the quality, the winemakers, the stories of Paso Robles. We distill those. We do social media. We do the website. We put on events. And we're a clearinghouse for all that information on our website, which gets tons and tons of hits as well. And then beyond that, we do some advocacy, and you've been involved in that. We helped create the 11 other sub-AVAs of Paso Robles. We work with event ordinances, noise ordinances, some water things like that. So we really active in an advocacy role as well as a marketing role. And it's really, as you know, and you've talked about this, is the camaraderie of Paso Robles is so special that we wouldn't be as successful if we didn't have these amazing wineries who've been on board, whether it be old school, like, your father and Gary Everly and the Doug Beckett's of the world who said, yeah, we're gonna be Paso and this is how we're gonna do it, to the new guys who come on, whether it be, Tyler from Nel Cordon and those guys. It's really a unique, special region where whether you've been here for 30 or 40 years or you've been here for 5 years, you want to be a part of the association because we all pull in the same direction, if you will.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really love about Paso, and I think it's important not to take it for granted, is that we really do have a community that does pull together. And I think it might be for a lot of the kind of general wine loving public, their interaction with the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance is probably mostly at the events that that the Alliance organizes. So Wine Festival, Harvest Festival, Zinfandel Festival, or whatever its name is this year. But this is a year where events aren't really feasible. I mean, large events are probably going to be one of the last things that's going to be allowed back by the state regulations. So how does that change what the Wine Alliance is doing? What's the pivot been?
Yeah, that's a good question. We really immediately jumped into kind of communication mode really fast, because the orders were coming down from the state and the county as to what the shelter at home order was going to look like, and we really became just kind of a communications arm of just being in touch with the wineries, communicating via phone, via email, via e-blast, talking to the Wine Institute, talking to the governor's office, talking to other regions and seeing what they're doing. So really, we kind of hunkered down. We were downtown. Paso Robles is where our offices are. We closed that office and we worked remotely for a few months, but we really worked on the website. We've done some really, we had to pivot really fast, and we did some amazing things. The team here is amazing with Jen and Chris and Carol, and we suddenly shifted our marketing, because we couldn't do the wine festival in Vintage Paso in March, to doing a program called Home with Paso Wine. And so suddenly we were talking about all the cool, unique things that wineries are doing, whether it be Tablas Creek or Peachy Canyon, all those wineries. They're doing virtual tastings. They're doing walk through the vineyard. They're doing vertical tastings. They're doing, hey, order a case of wine, shipping's on us, and let's talk about that wine throughout the week. So really just about kind of, and first and foremost, we had to be advocates for our region in terms of making sure we're going to do this right, be responsible, do it in a safe manner. But also after we do that, how do we get wineries still able to have, revenue and cash flow through, and people can experience the wine region through their phone or through their tablet.
And you've done these cool, like Zoom Hangouts, like on different themes. Have there been any of those that have been like your particular favorites?
They've been all so fun and so unique. We've got, Chris Toronto, who's our communications director. He's been here for a long, long time, and he has such great relationship with these guys and with these different people. And we've had 17 of them, if you can believe it. So 17 times 3, we've reached almost 50 different wineries, and they're so diverse. Last Friday we had this really cool one of all men who'd served in the armed services, and I didn't even realize that. So we've got 3 winemakers and they all had served in the Navy, and them telling stories about their days in the Navy, and then all falling in love with Paso Robles and ending up here, and them swapping stories about is there any connection between what you learned in the military versus making wine. And then there's fun ones like Joe Barton and Austin Hopens and Al Ducey, who all kind of grew up and went to high school here in Paso Robles, and stories of, man, could you imagine that 25 years ago we'd all be living and owning wineries, whereas 25 years ago we were looking for the next fun thing to do during high school. So they've all been really special. They all tell the story of Paso Robles, and I think that, to your point about the camaraderie, and is that the cool thing is we also have special people who tune in every week. There's a couple from the middle of the country, and they're there every Wednesday and every Friday with a glass of wine, hearing the stories, because we know that next time they can travel, they're going to come to Paso Robles. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, and I was excited to hear from Chris that you're going to continue to do some of this stuff, because I think that's one of the lessons that we've really taken at Tablas Creek, is that wine marketing traditionally relies on people coming to you. I mean, if you think of whether it's an event, whether it's a tasting room, whether it's a seminar, that requires, or it's a wine dinner out on the market. Yeah. Anyway, it happens in a specific place, and it requires the customer to move themselves physically to where you are. And I think it's been a really valuable learning experience for us, is that how do we do things that go to wherever the customers are? Because yes, we're a pretty easy drive from 30 million people, but that's 1/10 of the U.S. population. And so how many potential Paso Robles fans or Tablas Creek fans are there out there who can't physically get themselves to something that we're doing, but who we've never really made it easy for them to still connect? So I'm excited.
It's so true. Yeah, we're going to switch those Zoom Hangouts to every Thursday, and we're going to keep going, because to your point, people want to be engaged. And I think that in some ways Paso Robles has been a little spoiled, because certainly in the last 3 to 5 years, it's been this meteoric rise of people coming in town, and our tasting rooms were full for the most part, and there's always new things to do. And so we're so worried about kind of keeping up with the flow of traffic or shipping wine to our wine club, we forget that, oh, there's people who were here 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, still want to hear from us.
Right.
So let's do an Instagram live, or let's do a Zoom call, or let's taste through the verticals with our top wine club members. And we've heard from almost every winery, yeah, they're going to keep doing this stuff because it's, and I think the other thing is the communication. I think that so many people were kind of cooped up in their home for so long, or they were working from home, raising their kids, whatever. And so to get those interactions with one of their favorite places to go, which is Paso Robles, or the favorite wine regions to go to have that, it's so accessible. That's what's been really nice, is that we've made it accessible for people to do that. So.
And I think it's important to remember that even as we look towards reopening, which I want to talk about next, there's still going to be a big chunk of people who are not comfortable heading back out into kind of commercial environments where there's going to be a decent number of other people. I did a Twitter poll on my personal Twitter account over the weekend, was basically asking, so are you ready to, winery tasting rooms are getting ready to reopen. Are you ready to go back out now? Are you ready, but does it depend on what precautions the tasting rooms are taking?
Yeah.
Are you not ready yet, but you think you will be soon? Or are you not going to be ready for a while? And the plurality of those were people who were ready now. It was about 40%. But the other three categories each got about 20% of the votes. So there's a decent chunk of people who are not ready to get back out yet for various reasons. And I think it's important not to lose sight of all of those customers who love the wines and love the area, but are not going to be the first in the door of the new tasting room.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head. There's going to be some people who are going to be here next weekend, like you talked about, and ready to go. But there's people who are going to wait 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, or a year. And so to have that interaction is still so important, and especially the people who have been so important to your business over the last several years and decades as you've built your business. You want to make sure that they're still part of your fold. And so if that doesn't mean they're going to be there this summer for the annual trip, let's make sure that they still get the email from you guys, the connection, the wine, and all those things. So,
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we got the okay from the California governor's office to reopen tasting rooms starting Friday, right? Day after tomorrow.
Yep.
And I think I just saw that the county gave its okay also.
They did, yeah. The county issued a press release yesterday afternoon saying that Dr. Penny Bornstein, who's our public health officer, went through, reviewed the attestation documents, went through our numbers, and she certified that our county, San Luis Obispo County, is ready to open those segments of business, and that includes wineries and tasting rooms, which is great. So wineries have been open in terms of production, but the tasting rooms can open as of Friday. She put that, it's out there. We'll be having a big e-blast going out to our membership tomorrow morning with all of kind of the steps you need to go through. But the county did go ahead and follow through with what the state said. So we're ready to open on Friday.
And so is your sense that most wineries are going to open as soon as they can, or are some going to take longer? Or are there people who are just not? How diverse is the?
It's a good question. It's a mixed bag, really. I mean, there's some wineries who are ready to go. They were able to kind of pivot to serve food, or they were able to serve food the last few weekends when there was what we call the food clause in effect, where you had to serve a sit-down dining meal, and whether you're working with a food truck or a licensed caterer or your kitchen. There was a few. We monitored that. There was maybe between 15 and 25 wineries opening the last 2 weekends.
Out of how many would there? Out of
175, 175 to 200 tasting rooms in the county, let's call it. But I think that's going to probably double to triple this weekend. I really think you're going to see probably near 100 this weekend. But you're really going to see a good handful wait a week or two as they figure it out. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is staffing, as you talked about, probably Tablas Creek. If you've had to either put people on furlough or put them in different positions, you need to get them back. The big part is training your staff as to what does this look like? Are we wearing masks? How's our protocol for cleaning surfaces, cleaning bathrooms, cleaning doorknobs? Signage is a big part of that. Making sure you've got that plan, and then you have to do the Ready Slow org toolkit as you have to self-attest through the county, saying we have a plan as a business. We've trained our employees, and we self-attest that we're ready to open.
Right.
So training's a part of it. And then I think part of it is just that trepidation of like, are we really ready? Are we going to go to reservations? Are we going to have it be like where they call from the parking lot, or are they going to call online? And so really, how do you manage the flow of people? Most people I've talked to are really going to go reservation. I really haven't talked to many wineries that aren't going to go reservation in the short term. And then
that was one of the most important conclusions that we came to, is that the only way that we can feel confident that we can regulate the flow of customers and make sure that people don't have to wait and don't have to like, nobody wants to wait in their cars and in the summer heat of Paso Robles. Nobody wants to like show up and not have a space for them. So we're moving entirely to buy reservations once we reopen.
Awesome. And then the last thing, which is interesting but fun, I think, is a lot of wineries took this time to really renovate and change their plans. I mean, three of our bigger tasting rooms, J. Lore, Castoro, and Everly, have all gone really cool renovations in their tasting room to make things bigger, more open. They've been waiting for a while to have the time to do it, and under this circumstance, call it fortunate or unfortunate, they've taken the time to renovate their tasting rooms. And so that's another key part of get staff back in there, make your plan. And then I think some employers are just probably being a little more cautious and saying, let's see how these first few weeks go and what traffic looks like, and then we'll go from that. We're going to be hosting a best series for our members, where in a few weeks where people can log in through Zoom and say, hey, what's working, what's not working, and that way we can just really learn from each other as fellow wine tasting rooms. So
cool. Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm not sure how much people realize this, but wine communities we don't generally think of our neighbors as being competitors. I mean, all of us are out there working together to promote the region that we're a part of, to promote the categories that we're a part of. If somebody buys a bottle of Halter Ranch right across the street from us, that doesn't make them less likely to buy a bottle of Tablas Creek. It makes them more likely to buy a bottle of Tablas Creek. So it's not like buying a car, where if you buy a Volkswagen, you're not also buying that Honda. So yeah, I love the information exchange that the Wine Alliance is able to facilitate.
Yeah, it's been good, and it's been fun hearing the other winemakers like you're talking about. The winemakers talking about how they've gone out last weekend and checked it out to see what it looks like, and what does the touchless experience look like? Are you going to do flights? Are you going to pre-pour the wines and set them down, or are you going to pour the glasses and then pour them at the table and then step away and have the guests sit down? So I think every winery is going to follow those rules for the most part. It's a matter of like, there's some nuances in there of how you can do that. And I think every winery wants to put their own special stamp on that, because I think that's the cool thing about Paso is every winery is different. Every winery has a different experience, but you're still going to kind of follow those rules of distancing and sanitation and cleanliness. But how do you make it the Tablas Creek way, or how do you make it the Booker way of doing those things?
Yeah, so. Cool. Yeah, it's I think we'll all be learning a lot as we have over the last 3 months. I mean, I feel like I've learned so many interesting things about the wine business over the last 3 months, and it's just going to keep right on going.
It is, yeah. It's been pretty fast and furious, and it's been great. Everyone has given me a hard time a little bit. Not only do I serve in this role as executive director, I'm also on the school board. So I've had to deal with COVID in different situations, whether it be as a school official or a winery region. But people have been, for the most part, really good, and they've pivoted and they've been creative, and it's been stressful and psychologically challenging. But I think at the end of the day, if you can have a positive outlook and say, okay, let's how can we learn from this? How can we become a better winery, a better tasting, a better organization because of this? I think people are going to do that with their employees, certainly in terms of mental wellness, of just like, take time for yourself. Are you guys ready to come back to work? How do you feel safe? And I think that's going to be a huge part of what brings people back to Paso, is knowing that we're going to do the right thing. And we've got leaders in the industry like you and other people on our board who are just saying, hey, we're going to open in a safe way, but it's still going to be Paso Robles, and it's still going to have this really fun experience. So.
Yeah, it'll be great. It's certainly an environment that it's fun to share with people. I think people are looking forward to getting out of the cities, out of where they live, and come into the open air that is Paso Robles, and the open space is. I think it's going to be pretty welcome.
Yeah, we had. I don't know if you've told your folks, but we did it. We were able to shoot a really fun video last week with your help, and we went to several wineries in Paso Robles and shot what we're calling like a welcome back to Paso Robles video, and it was really fun. It was the first time I think I'd been out, all day around people, and it just got me so excited about my job and the region we have, but just to see how excited people are to have people back in their tasting rooms, the safety measures they've put in place. And then just sitting there saying, "Oh man, it's June. It's time. We need people back here." So we've taken that long spring break. It should have been a winter break, and we're ready. And so that video coming out next week, and you can share it with your folks. And it's just really got some great personalities. And then the other thing I just wanted to quickly share before we wrap up is that they've done some really cool stuff in downtown Paso Robles. So not only if you're going to come here for the weekend and enjoy Paso, they're doing a really cool program in the downtown city park where you can go get food at one of our great restaurants, and then you can go sit at the tables and have a great dining experience under the oaks. And there's tables where you can just go and do it yourself and kind of self-serve, or they're going to have actual tables where there's people cleaning them, and they're lit, and they're kind of more of you can make a reservation to sit there. So just neat things to get people in and more comfortable, still enjoying the neat things at Paso, which is the people and the places and the wines. So
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Well, we're at the half hour that I try to aim at. So, thank you for joining me. Thanks for sharing a little bit about what the region is thinking and your viewpoint on it. I mean, you really are in a kind of a unique place to see how the whole community is reacting to the challenges that come with COVID and to the opportunities that come with reopening. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's fun to be on this. I've watched yours, and now I got to be on one. So appreciate you having me on, and to all your fans and followers, we can't wait to have you back here in Paso Robles. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Joel.
Thanks, you. Thanks.
Okay, everybody else, again, just a reminder, I do this every Wednesday at noon. So tune in next week. And meanwhile, check out the blog, check out our website. We do have information about what reopening looks like for us. Want to make sure that you feel safe when you come, and also that you're still going to have a great time. Thank you for all of that. Stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you here or seeing you next week. So again, cheers.